Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I have prepared my presentation, but I try not to repeat what Charles has mentioned. Okay, so perhaps you've have discussed about the 5-point consensus that ASEAN has been issuing for the situation in Myanmar, and now so these are some of the responses from ASEAN, starting from chairman's statement on the 1st February, and number of things from ASEAN until come up with 5-point consensus in April. And now Dato Erawan of Brunei Darussalam was appointed as the ASEAN Special Envoy. I recognize that there has been a number of criticism to ASEAN for the slow move from the beginning. It took ASEAN 2 months to go to 5-point consensus, another 2 months for the special envoy. So there has been a number of differences inside Myanmar, inside ASEAN, the dealing with situation in Myanmar considered as unprecedented. So there are a number of mistake in addressing the problem, and a part of the slow responses, not only because the different position of member state, but also not knowing how to engage this very smoothly. But I would like to highlight here that ASEAN has not or never recognized the SEC as a government. Uh, if you notice that the name of the meeting in April was ASEAN Leaders Meeting, not summit as mentioned by the media, because the ASEAN Charter has a specific definition on summit. ASEAN Summit is only attended by head of the state and leaders or head of the governments. ASEAN does not recognize Min Aung Hlaing as the head of the state or head of the government, even though he was invited. The interest of ASEAN to invite Min Aung Hlaing in that time was for him to listen the concerns of the member states on militaries taking over the power through tank and force. The so yeah, so now I think this has been mentioned earlier and then discussed. And in relation to the latest meeting, the ASEAN ministerial meeting, ASEAN ministerial meeting was attended by SEC appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs. But if you look at the outcome document, the joint communique of the ASEAN ministerial meeting, it started with the 54th ASEAN foreign ministers meeting. If you look at the previous document of similar activity, the IMM, the joint communique always started with we, the ASEAN foreign ministers, agreed or discussed, etc., etc. The reason why the different entry of the joint communique this year, because ASEAN still in the position of not recognizing anyone coming from SEC. In AICHR, the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the old Ministry of Foreign Affairs, coming to our meeting. But I cannot speak on behalf of the whole AICHR, but in my capacity as AICHR Indonesia, if someone from military coming to AICHR meeting, then it is going to be a no meeting at all for me. If one country does not appear in the meeting, that the meeting will not happen. And that's what happened when we had the latest meeting in July. I make AICHR discussion deadlock for 2 days until my want will be agreed. So this is something that I would like to explain here. So AICHR responds to the situation in Myanmar quite early compared with before. I mean, AICHR is not a body that responsive quickly to the issues, as you may know. But on the 5th of February 2021, we come up with a press statement was signed by Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore at the moment. On the 8th of April, during our meeting, of AICHR meeting, we managed to get consensus of all member states to discuss about human rights issues, addressing Myanmar issues in our meeting. So this is the first time in 12 years of AICHR, after it was established in 2009, that we can talk about human rights of a country without being accused of violating non-interference principle. So this actually adding to my theory earlier when I started the job as the AICHR representative, uh, we can still working or we can still talk about human rights issues of a country without being accused of violating non-interference principle, as long as first we have agreement among all member states, and second, we have a space to talk about it. We have a platform to talk about it. But this platform need to be agreed by consensus by all. So in April 8, 2021, we discussed about human rights issues. 6 countries talk about their concerns in relation to the escalation of violence in Myanmar. So from in February, we only have 4 countries expressing their concerns. The rest thought that this is domestic issues. But in April 8, we have 6 countries openly talk about their concerns in relation to Myanmar. On the 9th of April, our press release mentioned about the readiness of AICHR to support Myanmar on any task assigned by the ASEAN foreign ministers. So this is the new attitude of AICHR, that AICHR is openly, publicly express concerns and express interest to support a country. Because before we did not mention about a country-specific issue or problem. And 26th of April, no, this is not April, 26th of July. We had a meeting. So we supposed to have a meeting 12, 13, 14 of July, but I insisted that I did not want to continue to have a meeting without ability of AICHR to talk about human rights issues in Myanmar, because even though in April we agreed to come up with the agendas items specifically on human rights issues, but in July meeting, some countries believe it was only ad hoc. So then I insisted that I will not uh, continue the meeting without that item. So the meeting got deadlocked for 2 days, and on the 14th of July, we continued the meeting with the agenda item number 4, update from AICHR representative on the issues. And I highlighted the issue of refugees as the as the result from the coup in Myanmar, as well as on the issue of Rohingya. On the 2nd of August, taking the advantage of meeting with the foreign ministers, I know that the SEC appointed foreign minister uh, appear there. So I used that opportunity to highlight the rights of prisoners and call for the release of political prisoners in Myanmar. Uh, and later in September, we are going to have a ASEAN Human Rights Dialogue. ASEAN Human Rights Dialogue is like a mini UPR, and this is already approved and agreed by consensus by all member states. So these are some of the efforts from our side inside in AICHR to respond to the issue. Of course, there has been no implication in the country, but what happened in Myanmar now come up with institutional changes inside AICHR. Uh, and for the special envoy, AICHR Indonesia come up with a statement looking at responsibilities of the special envoy and what I expected special envoy to do, to come up with a plan, a mission list, people to meet, a clear timeline, and to be able to define the word all in the joint communique, because well, this 5 point consensus talk about all parties. So special envoy need to define who are the all parties that he planned to meet. And this is an opportunity for people in Myanmar and also civil society to provide a definition of the all parties. The joint communique also mentioned about all accesses. So that is why it is very, very important that the special envoy to be given all access to all places in Myanmar. uh, Taking the experiences in the previous situation where Myanmar experienced Typhoon Nargis, Dr. Surin Pitsuwan was the Secretary General of ASEAN, uh, was allowed to come in to the country and was given an office. So that is why in my statement, I also suggested that special envoy need to be given a space, an office in the country, either in Napido or in Yangon. Yangon would be better. That that office should function as a neutral zone which facilitate dialogue with all parties. We all know that uh, uh, to set a meeting is very difficult, and to bring people to come together to talk is another difficult effort. So that is why it is proper to ask for neutral zone in which special envoy can work there inside the country, and special envoy need to set the standard or norms on no harms, gender balance, inclusive, transparent, participatory, voluntary, and respectful. The people participation in the process of dialogue should be voluntary, and whatever their decision need to be respected. And also people who decide to join to participate in the process need to be secured their personal security. In our experiences as human rights defenders, many people went to Geneva to engage with the UN system, but they were stranded in Geneva airport or got arrested when they arrived in the country. So we should be able to take that experiences to make sure that everyone in Myanmar or outside of Myanmar that decide to participate in the process of dialogue, their personal security need to be protected, and special envoy need to get that commitment from military. Special envoy need to be given all accesses to all institutions, including detention centers and prisons, and to be able to talk to political prisoners. Uh, yeah, so these are some of the point that I have been mentioning. This statement already put in public, sending to media. More importantly, I've sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. Yeah, I think that's a thing that I would like to. As AICHR Indonesia, I also organize a number of press conferences inside the country together with civil society. Lately, we organized the regional forum with national human rights institutions. The second will be end of September, hopefully, and then another one will be in December, to provide a platform to talk about situation in Myanmar and provide recommendations, especially now special envoy is already appointed. I also managed to have a regular meeting with NUG governments, especially the Minister of Human Rights and the Minister of Women, Youth and Children, as well as CRPH. In our last activity, I invited NUG staff coming to our training, AICHR training on trafficking in person. I also communicated privately with NGOs to be able to send their inputs to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So yeah, so that's thing. Thank you very much.